Well, good day, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. We are here with
Yes,
our
we are.
lovely Evie, as always, and our super duper guest this week. We have Claudia Binder joining us. Great to have you
Hello.
with us, Claudia.
Hi, Evie and Yvonne. Thank you
Lovely
for
having
having me.
you.
Super nice to be with you again. Always love your energy and the
Oh.
subjects we talk about. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and this is a topic that we really wanted to bring forward because there's an awful lot of conversation around it, and yet
Mm.
I personally am feeling like lots of people aren't really understanding what it is, and I think even in the coaching space that there are coaches that perhaps feel uncomfortable or don't trust themselves to be able to coach around this topic. And the topic itself is trauma, and we're really looking at it through the lens of positive intelligence as well. But I think also just to help people have an understanding of what trauma is. When we hear this word, what is it that we are talking about? And as coaches, what do we need to be aware of when we have somebody perhaps who's coming to us with trauma as something that's quite kind of top of their list of things that they share. And of course, one of the great things about having you in the room, Claudia, is that you are trauma informed. A lot of the work that we've done outside of positive intelligence, as well as applying it, has really given you a deeper understanding of it. So it's great to have you here. And I'm going to just kick off with that very first question, which I think is the key one, is, what is trauma? What is it?
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to very quickly explain why I call myself a trauma-informed coach. I think that's important. I'm a RTT, rapid transformational therapist, and this is where I work a lot with trauma. And I've done EMDR therapy, and I'm also ego state therapist. So I deal a lot with the subconscious beliefs of my clients, and I find that a lot of people have trauma without even being aware of it being a trauma. And what is trauma? Trauma is not what happens to us, but the belief we attach to what happens to us. And sometimes trauma happens, trauma is an overwhelm of the nervous system. Our nervous system is naturally regulating, especially during sleep, when we have REM sleep phases, etc., etc. So usually the nervous system regulates. But trauma is when the nervous system is not able to regulate anymore. And sometimes trauma happens like all at once, big shocking events, earthquake, natural disasters, accidents, rape, all these kind of things. But what I find a lot in my work is the trauma that slowly builds up over time. And when people really don't realize it is trauma, and they don't even want to know it's trauma, because trauma and anything psychological where you need a therapist or whatever, it still has this label that it is actually
Stigma?
Yes, minimizing our ability to be a professional. Yeah. And so it's an overload of the nervous system. And I always like to use the example of the two firefighters. What is trauma? Trauma is the belief we attach to our experience. So we have two firefighters, both have the same job, both are amazing people and go to the site. They rescue, they put the fires out, they do what a firefighter has to do. One comes back and says, I saved many lives today, and I'm so proud of myself, and I've done an awesome job. And the other comes back and says, from the same event, same experience, same everything. And he says, because of me, a lot of people died today. And why that is, why we have that difference, maybe has to do with resilience, maybe has to do with previous experiences. It's just like, when the glass overflows, when one drop is too much and the nervous system says, okay, fine, now I had enough, and now I am going into a consistent state of stress where the body, I don't want to go into it because it's too long, but I want to quickly mention that when we are in a consistent state of stress because of trauma, our mitochondria starts to function differently. The mitochondria are the powerhouses of our body. Without mitochondria, no energy. And people often wonder, why am I so fatigued? Why am I so low in energy and no motivation, no this, no that? And when I dig deeper, oh my God, so many things come up. And when the nervous system can't regulate anymore, our mitochondria's job is to go and fix the stress response first. So it cannot give energy to our system anymore, because first we have to heal the stress in the body. But it's a catch-22 kind of situation. So yeah, that's what trauma is. And it shows up as chronic fatigue. It shows up in shame and self-blame. It shows up in hypervigilance. And there's that was my top score in positive intelligence, hypervigilant, victim, and controller. Guess why? And I come to that later. I come to my own trauma experience later a little bit.
Yeah.
Emotional numbness, exhaustion, and the disconnecting from your environment, disconnecting from your family, from your partner, from your colleagues. And even though we can fly to the moon, we still live on our tribal instincts, and we need to have connection. And when we stop connecting with others, that's when we really start to struggle, because we don't want to share. We feel we are just walking shame and guilt kind of.
Claudia, can I ask something? From a perspective of somebody that doesn't know much about trauma, just for our listeners and for myself, I mean, do you have you seen a big change when you do the work with somebody that has come and said, oh, I'm so fatigued, I really don't know what's going on with me. Maybe they don't even feel that there is trauma in their life, and that you have changed them around. Maybe, give us an example like this that I would be very interested to hear.
Yeah, I have a client. I've been working with a client for a year now, and it was for half a year, and there was narcissistic upbringing. So the mother is a narcissist, and this lady did not know that. She didn't even know that a narcissist, the constant criticism, the constant blaming, the constant mental, emotional torture. She thought it's all her fault. She never knew that this is actually one of the biggest trauma triggers at all. And we just had last week our first session when we talked about all good stuff. We talked about all the things that are now laying ahead, and we talked about how we maneuver forward. But what we did is we regulated the nervous system by consistently creating safe spaces when we talk about issues. We did not re-trigger the trauma, but we looked at what is necessary now, right now. How do you feel right now? And to teach and learn, retrain the nervous system. Hey, there is a connection here. And I love, the online sessions, because people can actually call you from their safe space. They don't have to go through traffic and all these kind of things where they meet people in the train, or where maybe accidents or whatever happened in the past. So online is actually excellent for trauma. That is my personal opinion. Me personally, I would not want to go to a clinic and every Wednesday and go like, okay, let's talk trauma again. I rather come from a safe space, like what I did with my client. And that became such a routine that, like a consistent learning, there is a safe space, and trauma sits in the body. And that's what I worked through with her as well. We worked a lot with releasing the tension from the body, the fear, the anxiety from the body, the feeling I cannot sleep because if I sleep, something might happen. And it took a while, but we're good. And and consistency is key. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
and that whole thing about safety, which is like so important. There has to be, before anything, safety has to be felt.
Yeah.
That is the first stop of it all, isn't it, Claudia? And I know that you've mentioned, we've had conversations before about that, but also through my own reading and things that I've seen, is I know that is absolutely fundamental. And is there, I guess, interesting. So you told the story about the two firefighters. So would it be safe to say then, is there like a spectrum of trauma? Is there what we would potentially say is there could be trauma, but it's, it may have impacted somebody, but it may be this small, or that's why they can't recall it. And then there's just like those big trauma events that are very unlikely to be forgotten. They're just like a constant reminder. Is there anything along there?
If I understand you correctly, then like when you say spectrum, like do you mean like consistent criticism, or
yes, like a continuum? So what I do remember hearing is that you can have lots of little small traumas can then build into a bigger one, right? But you may have small traumas, and like you had said earlier, that you may not even realize that there is any trauma there, because it may have been one or two small traumas, no massive impact.
Yes, correct. So all these small experiences, the small being consistently criticized, being excluded, you go to a meeting every week on Monday, there's a team meeting and whatever, and you feel excluded because whatever, people gossiped, going on in the office, or whatever it is. All these little emotional, really painful experiences, they might seem insignificant, and they might be something you feel it's your fault. It's like which is adding on, but these insignificant, small, consistent, painful experiences, they become a big trauma. Because I actually rather deal with one big trauma, because that you can help much better and faster. I believe in the coaching work I do. I'm not talking therapy work.
Yes,
but the small, consistent ones, they have so many roots.
Yeah.
So many branches. Yes. They go out in every area. It has a ripple effect into all areas of our lives, and that's and that's when it becomes so important to talk about it.
Absolutely. And that comes up quite a lot when they talk about microaggressions in diversity and equity and inclusion, when they talk about being in the workplace and all these little microaggressions, and it's that consistent that is just constantly eating away. So and of course that becomes traumatic, so again, and held in the body.
You just said something.
So another question for you. Yes, no, go ahead.
No, but you just said something very important. It stays in the body. it stays in the body. And I have people coming with chronic sinus issues or lower back issues or gut issues. And when I'm taking them into an RTT session and we give those parts which cause the sinus or which cause the eczema or the blisters on the lips and all these kind of consistently reoccur. And when we give that part who is responsible for these issues in the body, when we give that part a name, a role, a function, a purpose, gosh, there's so much wisdom in there, because that's where the belief we are holding shows up as, I have to make you ugly or whatever so that you cannot have experience A, B, or C again. And trauma sits in the body. Yeah.
Can you please tell us what RTT is for anyone that's listening that they don't know?
RTT, rapid transformational therapy, but it is one of the best therapies available to rapidly get to the root cause of people's issues, illnesses, low self-esteem issues, anxiety issues, and so on. And within 1 to 3 sessions, I have helped people to save a lot of time going to therapists on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay. So what about, because this is something that I've heard quite a lot, that trauma is passed through generations. What's the and again, we're going to try and keep this tight, but I think it's important, because I think it's something that comes up quite a lot, or is heard quite a lot.
So you're giving me not so much time, and I hope I still make sense to everything. But yes, my father, for example, he was a prisoner of war. I experienced generational trauma myself. He was 5 years in a Russian war camp. So you come back from 5 years in a Russian war camp, Second World War, and you are not a normal human being anymore, for sure. I love my dad. He passed away in 1999. He was an awesome man, but he had severe trauma. He was never treated for trauma. But when you have it, the way you deal with life is different. The way you have anxiety all the time, you pass it on to your children. It ripples out into your family. Trauma can actually not even only be passed on through behavior, but also through hormonal changes. There is a lot of scientific feedback proving that our physiology is changing by inheriting trauma. So you can actually come to this planet and you don't have any problem at all, but you can inherit it through behavior. Yeah.
Wow. Powerful stuff, isn't it? Powerful things. But it's good, and I know we're kind of just touching on this as it's very surface, but because I know that people hear these things, just for them to be able to understand that yes, this can happen, and yes, these things do happen.
If you've always been you don't have to be in a war. If you have been criticized all your childhood, during your own childhood programming years, the first 10 years of your life, you've been consistently criticized. You inherited that trauma from whatever is the root cause or the background of your parents or grandparents. You automatically pass it on without knowing. Usually people are not aware that this is a trauma response. This is called trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So as coaches, and you know, what is it that we need to be aware of when people come to us? You know, what are the things that we need to be aware of to be able to say, yes, I know I can help this person, or actually I might be able to help them, but there's something else that they may need that is not within my sphere of experience or knowledge?
Well, when coaches are often uncomfortable with when they realize there's trauma. So one of the most important things is, if you're uncomfortable, please refer. and don't think and never think you have to fix somebody. Fixing is bad. And as a trauma-informed coach, we need to help our clients to regulate in the moment.
Yes.
When we are together, we need to create this, what we talked about before. We need to create this environment of safety. And trauma isn't about the past events. Trauma isn't about you come to me and you say, I've been one of the firefighters, and now help me. It's not about that. It's about how you're feeling now, how your body feels now, how safe you feel now, today. And that's so important to understand. And we are not therapists, so we need to be very careful to create safe spaces. We need to never push a client to talk about the experience,
100%.
because that's when you can re-trigger an event, and that's what we don't want. So it is listening, creating safe spaces, and know when to refer.
100%.
And I would always say, go body first and not story first.
Nice. I like that.
So let me, like you in your question, in your session, you start what are we talking about today? And okay, ABC. And I would say, if I feel, it also is experience, but if you can see your client, you can feel your client, even in a silver little box like this. And I would always say, hey, and where do you feel this in your body? And hey, you're safe here, all good. All right. It's the beliefs you have and that shape your experience. So let's change the belief, but not.
Indeed.
Yeah,
that's so important. And I think we actually touched a bit on that when we did physical intelligence, that sort of work that came into there. And I guess, I mean, we're here, and positive intelligence is the thing that connects us all. So what, as positive intelligence coaches, how does our work best support somebody who is coming to us with some sort of trauma?
My experience in the beginning was, which was very interesting, that I need to go to a little bit of my own trauma later, but I had more trauma than many people can possibly imagine. But for me, positive intelligence in the beginning was, oh my God, what is this? I started to work with the body from a different point of view, from a different angle. Like when we rub the fingers, when we focus on the ripples on our fingertips, when we glide our hands over our palms, when we activate our senses, our sight, our hearing, when we activate our breath in a PQ coaching way. Positive intelligence has brought to me the understanding the importance of consistency. And if I balance all the thoughts and experiences and reactions I have from my own past trauma, every day with a little bit of PQ, I can keep my scale balanced. And PQ taught me to not underestimate ever the impact small traumas and big traumas can have for the rest of our lives. So PQ is awesome. And it might be different for you, Yvonne, and maybe for listeners, it might be a very, very different story. But I just quickly want to touch on the fact that we can heal. And I'm Gabor Mate fan. I'm a Dr. Peter Levine fan. And these guys have also taught me a lot about I am okay. It's okay to talk about, to share, to not relive, but to share what helps and to share what have you experienced yourself. And in my case, I never thought that I have had trauma, because I grew up in an environment where it didn't exist. I grew up in an environment where, come on, let's move on. Don't, spend too much time on pitying yourself. And so that's maybe also where my victim in PQ coaching, this is where my victim was born and developed as a big victim. But like I said before, my father was a prisoner of war, and I have inherited trauma. I have been molested as a child and a teenager. This went on for many years, and the classic it was a family member, and I have never spoken up about it. I only recently did when I learned more about the impact it has on me. At 15, I survived a car accident where the friend who was sitting next to me died. It was a serious car accident with everybody was scattered around the car, and a helicopter came and all this kind of stuff. And I had 12 major surgeries, 10 abdominal surgeries, 2 leg surgeries. The abdominal surgeries, 2 of them were cervical cancer treatments or surgeries. My leg surgery aligned my body by 8 degrees. So I don't, and not like trying to. I'm really good, and it's fine. And because of all these things I've done, I know we can heal. And I delivered my first daughter 2 months early. Every mother knows what it means to deliver 2 months early. There is not only the fear, there is the lung development of the child and so on. I had horse riding accidents where I lost eyesight and speech. And I didn't know when it's coming back. Clearly it came back, but and dental trauma, dry socket. Has anybody ever had the pain of a dry socket? And it seems like that the story was never ending, and I think I could go on with a few more, but only when I learned to listen to my body, because from all my experiences, nobody ever asked me how I emotionally deal with it. Everybody was only about the fixing of the symptoms of the issues, but not how I feel about, all these things. And so PQ has been, even though I've already dealt with my issues and I'm been on a healing journey, PQ was, yes, if you don't do daily exercises, you lose, you miss out. Yeah.
Wow, so powerful. I mean, we've spoken before, so I've heard much of your kind of journey through that trauma and the different experiences that you've had, that for somebody like myself, where I just think, wow, that you can be here today and be this glorious woman that you are, being able to hold all of that and be able to say, look, healing is absolutely possible. That for me is so powerful. That is so possible, because that gives people hope, and where there's hope, there's healing, right?
And I always say, I learned that from my teacher Marissa Peer, and I always say, where tears roll, the healing begins.
Yes.
Because where tears roll, this is when you let go of the tension. And when you let go of the tension, your inner parts, your inner saboteurs, they go like, what? Why is she letting go of tension? Now it's my job, That's when healing begins.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. So powerful. Evie, is there anything else that you wanted to ask? Or
I'm speechless. Thank you so much for sharing this, Claudia, because as Yvonne said, like my experience with trauma is very limited, and I'm sure, like everybody else, I might have small traumas throughout my life that, are bugging me, and maybe they will show up as I do more and more of my work for myself. But it is so powerful to share this information with the world, because there are so many people out there, and that they are in dead ends, and they are thinking like, okay, I must be doing something wrong. Because I can only imagine, when you have one trauma after another, and big ones like what you had, I'm sure you've asked yourself, I mean, why everything's happening to me? I mean, what's going on? How much more trauma can I get? And the fact that you've been, like at the other end now, and you have found a way to clear that, and live life in a different way, and share it the way you do, and work with people the way you do, that is amazing.
Yes. And that's also how my body wisdom program actually was born, on the 4 pillars of breath, movement, tension release, and activating senses. So it's a combination of all the things I've learned, which helped me the best, or my favorite tools, and I put them into the package. But also one more thing I want to say about PQ coaching, the importance of belonging. And I felt that with PQ, and with speaking the same language across, like for us, across PQ coaches,
Yes.
it's so powerful, the connection, the sense of belonging. And we need to pass that on. We need to share that. We need to ripple that, let that ripple out into our clients' work and personal lives, because belonging, feeling safe, is half of the rent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Wow. Yeah.
100%. And especially, like I feel that also PQ gives language where language was not.
Yes.
And for our clients. Not only for PQ coaches, but for our clients as well. So, every single PQ coach that works with like even one person and can share that is like a big deal.
Yeah.
And we don't need to talk about trauma. It's not necessary. What we need to do is to activate our sage brain, our wisdom brain. And that part which sits here, the medial prefrontal cortex, this is where all emotional regulation happens. And when that part is happy, then we become more creative, we become more active, more motivated, more aligned with what we do. And for me personally, I think it really activated my sense of perspective.
Yes.
If that's the right term to, but I feel now I'm so much more able to be open for different perspectives, and that always gives, that's a green card to move anywhere, really.
Yes.
It helps you to move forward in whatever
Absolutely.
life throws at you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it helps with so many things, connections with others, deepening those connections with others. All of that stuff happens when we are in that space. Now, I mean, this conversation could go on for a day, if not a week, if not even longer. There's a lot. So what I want to do is just, Claudia, give you an opportunity to have a kind of final, if there's a final say that you'd like to have on it before we close out. And also for those who are listening in, that you can reach out, if you have a question, a burning question, or you kind of think, oh my goodness, maybe that's somebody who might be able to shed some light on something for me or help me in some way. Claudia is on LinkedIn and is incredibly approachable and wonderful. But so, Claudia, parting word from you on this.
Well, I think parting word for me is reach out if you feel that any of the symptoms we mentioned before, anxiety, feeling disconnected, feeling different, feeling fatigued, feeling low in energy, and all these things, reach out and just talk about it and see whether a small advice can already change a lot. And always start with your body. Let tension go. Focus on releasing tension from your body. And I think my final advice would be that coaching is very, very powerful, and we need it. We need it more than we think. Giving our thoughts shape is super important, because that's the only way to get that stuff out of our head, circling in our head. Once it's out, the healing can begin.
Amen to that. Could not agree more. I think that's such an important statement. And everybody, this thing about coaching is like, everybody, coaches need coaches, right? There's no hierarchy thing where suddenly you don't need a coach. Everybody needs some degree of coaching somewhere along the line.
I come across, there's always like, you either meet people who swear by it, or you think people only go and see a coach when life is tough. I think that if nowadays with all this overwhelm we experience on a daily basis, it's good to speak to somebody confidently and to move forward. Yeah,
definitely. Evie, parting word?
No, I just want to thank Claudia for being here with us today, for giving us so many wonderful points with regards to trauma. And I'm sure, anyone that listens will get some nuggets from it. And of course, the advice at the end, because that makes a lot of sense and it's doable and it's actionable. And let's be consistent with whatever we're doing and move forward.
I agree. Fantastic. Consistency is key. Yeah,
100%. So if you've joined us today, thank you so much for doing so. If you're watching this on replay, we hope that you get something from it. Feel free to reach out to any of us. Specifically, though, if it's around something traumatic that perhaps you want to talk about, or you just want to know more about, then please reach out to Claudia. She's just a wonderful human being. We have an awful lot of time for her, and I would just encourage you to ask, and ye shall receive, and see what happens from there. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Evie. Thank you as always, Claudia.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia.
Speak to you soon. Lots of love, and thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Take care. Ciao. Goodbye.